My mom had me at 13. So you're essentially growing up with your parent. I didn't call her mom, I called her Tasha.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And then when she would do something, I would tell on her. And I was like, I was talking to my friends, like, y'all can't tell on y'all mom? Y'all can't tell on y'all mom? I would get in trouble a lot. And because of that, I think that's kind of where I found my comedic side. Like, I found out that, if you told jokes, it'd get you out of trouble. So those were my earliest memories of using comedy as a weapon to get me out of trouble. Because, I'd be about to get a whooping, and they hold a belt up, and then I'd do like a Michael Jackson move or something, and they forget about it. And they're like, okay, this works. So
you also talk about the fact that your biological father was not around. Mm-hmm. When you look back now, right, did that absence create anger or motivation for you?
It grew into anger.
Wow.
It grew into hatred. It grew into pure hatred. I mean, one time he called me and he was talking to me, hey man, I was just checking on you. And then I remember going like, checking on me? Yeah, now you care. And then we exchanged words I won't repeat here, but they were
So what will you say that anger did to you growing up?
I'm the kind of person, I still am, I think I still in a way, this is probably still in me. If you put my back against the wall, I'm going to show you why you shouldn't have done it.
Here he is today, a father, a husband, and he is thriving in his career.
I'm walking down this road of mine, this road that I call home, so am I wrong for thinking that we could be something for real? No, am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel.
This is going to be fun and exciting. What does it mean to become an overnight sensation, so to say, when you are not ready or when you don't expect it, and then you now have the responsibility to influence the narrative of what it means to be a black father? Mm-hmm. And my guest today, some people will say because his mother gave birth to him when she was 13 years old, mm-hmm, that the future looks bleak. Mm-hmm. But here he is today, a father, a husband, and he is thriving in his career. Today's conversation is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, but also it's going to challenge your assumption of what it means to be a black father, a black man, and much more importantly, what it means to influence and change culture. DJ Pryor, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me, man.
Awesome. So let's dive in straight into who is DJ Pryor. I'm curious about your background.
Yeah.
Your earliest childhood memory.
Yeah.
When you think back, growing up, what does life look like? What are your fond memories as a child? Either fond or not even fond?
Yeah, they're not really all that great. No, I would say this. They were interesting because my mom, like you made mention of, my mom had me at 13. So you're essentially growing up with your parent. You know what I mean? And because of that made things interesting because like most people have like at least a 20-year gap between them and their parent. 13, that's like a big sister. So we get whoopings together. This is things like that. You know what I'm saying? We went to school together. We was in the same grade. No. But it was interesting, to say the least, having a mom so young. And that's where I kind of I would get in trouble a lot. And because of that, I think that's kind of where I found my comedic side. Like, I found out that, if you told jokes, it'd get you out of trouble. So those are my earliest memories of using comedy as a weapon to get me out of trouble. Because, I'd be about to get a whooping, and they hold a belt up, and then I'd do like a Michael Jackson move or something, and they forget about it. And they're like, okay, this works. So comedy, was my earliest memory. Like starting off, it wasn't like comedy as we know it, stand up, but I would just do things to make people laugh to kind of escape trouble. That was how I started.
So I'm still curious about, that family dynamics.
Yeah.
Growing up in an environment like that.
Yeah.
At what age did you realize that, this was not normal?
Yeah.
And what did that do to you as a boy growing up?
It might have been a while when my friends were asking, so wait, so that's your mom or your grandma? Like when they see my grandma, they be like, is that your mom or your grandma? Is that your sister or is that your mama? Like, and I was like, is everybody mom older, a lot older? And then I was like, oh, maybe my mother had me young, because I didn't call her mom. I called her Tasha.
Oh,
right. And then when she would do something, I would tell on her. And I was like, I was talking to my friends, like, y'all can't tell on y'all mom? Y'all can't tell on y'all mom? That's when I started to figure out, oh, maybe I'm different. Maybe the situation is different. So I think probably around school age, probably about 5 or 6, to start registering, oh, this isn't normal. Yeah.
So was there any form of embarrassment or shame attached to that?
More irritated. Because, like, for example, my friends wanted to go somewhere, their moms could drive them. My mom didn't have no license, so it was like, man, my mom be like, why don't you listen? You should listen like the other kids. And I was like, yeah, the other kids' mamas can drive. You can't. We just got the training wheels taken off our bike last week, lady. So I think that was probably more annoying. Embarrassed. I don't know if I was embarrassed, but I was annoyed. I was annoyed. I was like, man, we can't do nothing. You just, you good for nothing. You can't do nothing more than what I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also talk about the fact that your biological father was not around. Mm-hmm. When you look back now, did that absence create anger or motivation for you?
Then anger.
Oh.
Definitely anger. It was just you were so absent, but it was more like you were unapologetically absent, like his mother, my grandmother, did pretty good about, getting me when she could. He'd walk in the house, and I'd be sitting right there, he'd be like, what up, little man? Like I was a total stranger. And I think that from there, it was just like, I didn't really know him to feel a way about it. It wasn't until they were kind of like forcing me on him. And when we start spending time, I really realized he really doesn't want this, right? And that's probably when I was like, yeah, you don't like me, I don't like you. And I started to develop that over time. And then, naturally, your mom hates him. So she telling you stuff, she putting stuff in your head about him. And so everything, your whole image of him is now coming from that angle.
Yeah.
And then he's not helping it because he's not trying to build anything. In fact, it's making everything she's saying over here look true because he's really not being nice. And then my teenage years, it grew into anger.
Wow.
It grew into hatred. It grew into pure hatred. I mean, one time he called me and he was talking to me, hey man, I was just checking on you. And I remember going like, checking on me? Yeah, oh, now you care. And then we exchanged words I won't repeat here, but they were very, very hostile words. And we didn't talk for some years after that. It got really nasty, man. And those years were just not good years. So yeah, those teenage years, very angry, yeah.
So what will you say that anger did to you growing up?
I'm the kind of person, I still am. I think I still, in a way, this is probably still in me. If you put my back against the wall, I'm going to show you why you shouldn't have done it, right? And what I mean by that is I've always let things that bothered me serve as motivation. So it was just like, oh man, I'm going to go out here and become something, and you're going to wish that you claimed me. Because for the earlier part of my years, he didn't even claim me. So I was like, I'm going to go out here and become somebody, and you're going to wish. So that, I think that's really where my public persona probably started. It was like, I'll be a version of me that you'll have to acknowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll become this great comedian. I'll become this thing, this figure, and you'll have to acknowledge me then. And so I think, also, I always tell people my early comedy years were grounded in pure selfishness because I was becoming something. I needed to become something because I wasn't accepted as a child, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make up this alter ego, so to speak, right? And I think that's what I did. And it just so happened to work for me, right? But it wasn't grounded in just like me just being myself. It was me being myself. I was being, I had a gift. But I think the reason why I wanted to achieve the things I wanted to achieve was because I wanted to make a statement, to him and others.
So that motivation, where did it come from? Because many people will, in similar situation, will begin to use it as an excuse for their lack of motivation, for their lack of progress in life. But for you, it did the opposite.
It did the opposite, yeah.
So where did that motivation came from?
I think my mindset always was, as a kid, everything that happened to me was codependent on the decisions of my parents, which were very young people. I call them the toxic two. They were the toxic two. Everything, that happened to me was based off of their decisions for me. I refuse to let your decisions choose the path of my life as a child and an adult.
Wow.
And that's kind of was like, well, y'all got my childhood, you won't get my adulthood. And in a way, what I found out was me being so angry was still me letting them control me as an adult. You know what I mean? It was like they still got control. So I was like, no. And I remember when I came to the realization, like, I'm going to have to kind of get away from that. And that served as motivation because I'm never going to be able to be an original version of me if I'm still focused on
the hunger.
Yeah. And that's what motivated me, that I wanted something different. I was going to have to do something different for the sake of sounding cliche. But yeah, you know what I mean? That was my motivation. It was like, they can't have both. Childhood and adulthood.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I'm still curious about that mindset shift.
Yeah.
Because one of the greatest liberty or freedom that anyone can have is to not to allow the opinion or what other people say to control or to influence their actions.
Right.
But for you, it was the opposite.
Right.
You say, well, I'm not going to allow you to control my childhood and my adulthood.
Yeah, right.
That's quite interesting. So I'm also curious about your adopted father that you mentioned that he, even when he divorced your mom, he still choose to have you and to train you.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what did that do to you?
Man, when a man steps up on that level, and I'm talking about on a level of excellence, like he's stepping up and he's like, you came from me. I think it's interesting where I always say that there is a person, when in these situations, there's a person that conceived you, but then there's a person that's called to you.
Wow.
And he was called to be my father. He was called to be the one to raise me. One was the one who was just supposed to get me here to literally hand me off for the other man to raise me. And he understood his call. And he rose to the occasion. Now I'm gonna tell you something. I was a bad kid to him. I was really bad to him. I was really mean to him. I was so bad to him. But he was just naturally, it's like it just rolled off his back. And I remember that point where I was like, he's such a good guy, right? That I wanted him to call me son.
Wow.
Just as much as he wanted me to call him dad. And it just naturally happened. It wasn't like he didn't demand me call him that. You know, he was already feeding me. I was starting to look like the guy. You know what I mean? And then after that, it just really, and he has been my father ever since. And that's how I got the last name. And to this day, man, I always tell people that's a giant in my life. Like, my dad is one of the coolest people you ever meet in your entire life. He's just, nothing bothers him. He's not easily swayed. He's very strong in his faith. I wish he was here. He could go on this. If he got on this show, man. But he really is. He's a general.
Wow.
He's a general, amazing. Man. Like he's a giant, and he walks in a room to this day, and there's a calm. Like, things can be going wrong. Rodney Pryor is not phased.
Interesting.
Right? And that's what he's the one who really like introduced me to God in terms of just like you have to have some unyielding faith. You know what I mean? To just, because stuff is going wrong. I'm like, bro, you good? You okay? You okay? You know? He just, I'm good. Unmoved. Wow. Unwavering. So yeah, he communicated that men are capable of loving something that they didn't create.
Wow.
And that type of love is unmatched.
So you said that you long to be called his son,
right,
as much as, you know, you want to call him, you know, your father.
Right.
At what point in your relationship with him did that shift really occur for you? Was there something you talk about, you know, the undying love? Mm-hmm. Was there circumstances or something that made that shift to happen for you, knowing that you were very stubborn?
Right, right. Very stubborn. Good. I think, man, one day I just remember going in the room and he was sitting there on the bed. I got in trouble the day before. And he was supposed to whoop me or something, and he didn't. He just gave me this long lecture. It was like, it had to have been like 2 hours. I don't know. It was very long. It was very, very long. I actually wanted the whooping over the lecture. And he was very calm and very just endearing, just, you know. And I remember outside of my grandfather, that was one of the first times I felt like a man cared for me.
Wow.
And that was significant to me. And I remember the next morning I got up and it was still on my head, and I walked in the room and I said, Rodney, and he turns around and I said, is it okay if I call you Dad? And you could tell he was like, oh. You know, he was just, oh. Yeah, you know, and I had to be like 6 or 7, and he hugged me, and he been dad ever since. Yeah, but I think it's crazy that you asked that, because I think for a 6 or 7 year old to put in his head that he can understand what love, kids can understand what love is.
Yes. Right.
And for me to understand what love is, I also understood what love wasn't.
Correct.
That makes sense. Yeah. And so I had gotten the display of what love wasn't. So now to see what love is amazing. That communicates. I don't know if I've ever thought of it that deep. That was, man, this is good, brother. This is really good. This is deep.
Nice. So you describe him as a disciplinarian.
Oh yeah.
So is there any discipline or any lesson, or what lesson from his discipline that when you look back now, you say, wow, thank you, Dad, for not sparing the rod?
Listen, I got to be honest with you, man. What lesson? There were so many. I'm sure they're there.
Yeah.
What lesson? You know, he really was big on, taking care of stuff you had.
Okay.
That was just really, we don't got much. So what we do have, take care of. He was really a stickler for that. He would say, you know, you're asking God for more stuff and you ain't taking care of the stuff you got. you know? And I was like, nah, bro, that's just because we poor. You know, like, we're just poor, bro. It has nothing to do. If I clean this stuff, if I take care of this stuff, we still gonna be poor. But he's always been a stickler for that. So I think maybe that's probably one of the things, like if I didn't take care of something, you know, I was in trouble. Yeah. Because, you know, take care of the stuff you got and then other things will come to you. And I guess that principle does still stick to this day. So I guess that would be one. There's so many, man. There's so many. I could go on days about him.
I can also imagine, you know, seeing him display a selfless affection for you. Yeah. That must have also rubbed off on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think there's no doubt that the man I am, you know, he contributed greatly to. And seeing the impact that he made on me, and he wasn't my biological father. You know what I mean? I only thing I wish is that he would have came in my life sooner, because there was so much hurt, so much pain that was done between birth and that age. So you're going, man, it was only, you know, 6-7 years. How much could have happened? A lot. Wow. You know what I mean? So by the time I got there, I was so scared of letting him love me in that sense, because, you know, I was used to guys coming around and acting like they liked me because they was trying to get with my mom. And then when they leave, then I don't hear nothing from them. You know what I mean? So, he was just seeing how he was did make me look at that a little different. Yeah.
DJ Pryor, if your biological father is sitting right here in this room right now, what would you say to him?
You know, hey friend. I mean, we when he passed away, we were great friends, the best of friends. Wow. The best of friends. I mean, he really became one of my best friends. Like, we would just talk. He'd call you at wee hours, like it was normal time. Yo, what's up, man? What you doing? Sleep, bro. Oh, why you sleeping? Because it's 3 a.m, bro. Like, and we just became good friends. We would talk on the phone for hours about nothing. And so
at what point did that relationship change?
You know, when I became a dad. When I became a dad, I understood that I wouldn't be able. I had to relinquish. You couldn't do both. I realized I wouldn't be able to be a great father and
still carry the heart and the pain.
Yeah, it ain't enough chambers in my heart to hold both. And this baby came at the most unopportune time. I love you, son, but you didn't. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But he came. I gotta look at the camera when I say this. Yeah. I'm sorry, son. I wasn't ready. But you know, he came. I was 22 years old, young, struggling comic, just trying to get stage time. Didn't have a place to live. I'm sleeping in a car. Wow. And here comes, and then found out I got a baby on the way. And so when you're at that point, you're going, I need to get serious about life. And part of getting serious about life is relinquishing hate and anger that is not serving me in getting out of this homeless situation. It's not serving me in being creative to create income or means for my incoming child. And then I also didn't want to rob my son the opportunity to build a relationship with his grandparents, because it was the same with my mom. I was like, yeah, y'all ain't gonna never see my kids. You know, that's as a kid and a teenager, that's how I felt. Yeah. But when he got here, I was like, I don't want to rob him of what could be great to him. And actually, he and my oldest son, he passed away before the other kids were born, but he and my oldest son were, I mean, tip top. The way he was with him, and I was like, bro, you could have done this with me. Yeah, but he was such a good grandfather to him, right? And when he passed away, I think my son was like 4 or 5, something like that. But those early years that he gave my son, and so that was when we started to kind of connect. Yeah, connect. I knew he was sick for a while. He had been sick my entire life, but you know, his kidneys and everything. He had been on dialysis. You know, most people don't live on dialysis that long. He lived on dialysis like 21 years, 21, 23 years, something like that. So yeah, now I would just, hey friend, that was my boy. Yeah.
No more hurt, no more anger.
Yeah, it was such a liberating experience. Right? To get rid of that. It's like, yo, I don't want to feel this way about you. And he already felt bad his latter days, before he went under. I remember him telling me about nightmares he was having about how he treated me and things like that. And it really meant a lot for him and then all his kids. He loved all his kids, I can honestly say. But I was the only one he didn't have a relationship with. So it was like, it just didn't sit right with him that I'm leaving and this is not fixed. You know what I mean? And he was big on family. He was big on family. So it was just like, nah, you are the only one that I got to fix this with, and I'm going to fix it. And so that time, I feel like a lot of times he prolonged his life to fix it, because there was times where I could tell he was weak, he was tired, he was ready to go. Wow. But it's like he prolonged. I said, man, I should have told him I ain't forgive him. He'd still be here, you know. If I still told him, no, I'm still angry. He'd still be here, like, yo, come here, let me talk to you. But no, man. I think it feel like a lot of times he delayed it to fix it, man. And he was, man. Wow. Just those later days, man. If I go back to those days and those conversations, they were magic. They were absolutely magic, man.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they were great. They were great. Everything I wanted to say and we needed to say our entire lifetime together, even if we didn't say it, it was said. It was just an understanding, like we both look at each other. It's kind of like a nod, because to a point to where he couldn't talk. I got you. We got it. We understand what this is. If nobody else in the room understood, it was something that was strong and magical about that moment, to where it was like, we're not saying any words, but we both get it. And it was like, I don't know, our souls, it was deep. It was like our souls were intertwined. I got it. Now go rest.
Wow.
Yeah, it was deep. It was a deep, deep moment, man. Very
now
deep.
Go rest.
Yeah.
Even though there was no verbal communication.
Right.
But there was that soul to soul connection.
Soul to soul, man.
That bridge all of the wasted years.
Yeah.
And in those short moments, you're able to connect on a much more deeper level.
Yeah. I held his head and I whispered that in his ear. Like, hey, you're leaving this earth as my friend.
Wow.
Like, there's nothing else we need to say. There's nothing else we need to do. Rub my hands through his hair. And after that, probably 2 minutes later, he passed.
In your presence?
Yeah. Well, we were right in the room. We were in the room. I was holding his head and I was right there. And you could kind of see when his soul left, like you could almost watch it. Like it was just like a calm. And when they checked his pulse, I already knew he was gone.
Wow.
Like I could feel like just the remaining weight he had just kind of released in my, and they looked and they just kind of did the head like that. And I said, I know. And he was gone, but he just needed to fix this. And he needed me to say that. So it was like, I gave him permission to leave. It was deep, man. It gave me goosebumps talking about it. It was a crazy, I've never experienced anything like that in my life, but it was to talk to a person that is about to go. And yeah, man, that was great.
So what did that moment, that sacred moment did to you internally?
Yeah. One, it let me know I did the right thing. I never, and this is, my mom is still living, thank God. And even with all that she has, my new stand-up I'm working on right now, I'm talking more about my childhood trauma and stuff that happened and things she did. I never want my parents to leave this earth with things held over their head, right? And one biological parent is already gone. And I just wanted him to go knowing that he loves me. My son loves me, and he's let me go from all of this. Wow. Right? And I saw that relief in him. I saw that his eyes were weak and then they weren't opening. And then he did have it, he's kind of gasping for air, but he's looking at me like you get it. And that showed me like the power of forgiveness. Like people need, and I don't care whether they're passing away or they're living, people need and want to be released.
Wow. Even
the person that's stubborn, so stubborn that they won't admit it, too stubborn to admit it. that person wants to be released from whatever it is they've done.
So, DJ Pryor, there is someone watching this video right now, a father or a son, or even a daughter or a mother, that because of the hurt and the pain that they have caused to each other, they are not in good times, in good communication. From your perspectives, what will you say to such a person?
I would say unforgiveness is a prison that you put yourself in.
Wow.
Right? You can't control what another person has done, past, present, or even planning to do. You can't control that. And when you are in this place where you're determined, I'm going to be angry and I'm going to hold this, you're putting yourself in a godlike position to say, I will hold all of this against you and you'll never be able to do this to me again. But the question I propose is, aren't you already hurting? Aren't you? Right? So what are you blocking? That thing that's already there? Or I can release you. And if they haven't changed, you don't have to give them access again. But I can release you so I can go on and live my life and do the things because what essentially happens is you've already killed them in your head. They did to you. But you've also killed yourself.
True.
Right? You're dead above ground. So I would say, first things first, relinquishing anger and understanding that the thing about forgiveness, like when preachers preach about it, like, you got to forgive and let it go. Like, the part they don't tell you is you can make a decision to forgive somebody. It doesn't happen overnight. What it's saying is you've acknowledged that I'm choosing to release them. And over time, you're telling your body, we have made the decision to forgive them. But it doesn't change overnight. Because the point being, if you do something to me right now, and I say, I forgive you, you step on my foot, and I say, see, that's why I ain't forget. And it comes right back, because the truth be told, I haven't moved from it yet.
Yeah.
I made the decision that I would, but the memory of it hasn't left.
True.
So relinquishing that, you got to relinquish it to be a better you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about comedy at 15.
Yes.
How did that start? When did you realize that, come on, I am funny. I can make money out of career out of this.
Hey, listen, I had a teacher tell me, school ain't for everybody. Hey, man, listen, when you got a teacher telling you that, hey, man.
To demoralize what?
This ain't gonna be good, She was asking stuff. I knew she's like, are you planning on going to college? You're not going to college, are you? I was like, no. When a teacher suggested that I should do comedy, and I knew.
Was it that you are not performing well at school?
Right. You're not performing well here, but on the stage, right? Exactly. You're not a good performer here. Yeah, man, I think I would just be acting out at school. I was the class clown. And mind you, these were early years. This weren't the teen years when you get to high school and you get voted class clown. It's not, see, at that point, that's when it's cool. You get voted class clown. No, you're at the age where they try to put you on medicine. And then they try to put you on Ritalin back in the day. So when they kept suggesting, like, DJ, you need to be in talent shows and things like that. And I would do them. I would do like talent shows and things like that. And I tried to get away from, I don't know if I tried to get away from the bug, but it just, I could make light of anything. Anything was just, I wasn't trying to, it was just my perspective. It was the thing that helped me cope through all the trauma and things I was going through. So comedy was always my best friend, right? That was my girlfriend, it was mom, that was dad, that was everything. Like, comedy was that invisible friend that always got me through. So because of that, somebody said, you should try to go get on stage. And I was like, and they had this little comedy spot, this little club where they would do comedy, and they called it Comedy Zone. And one night I said, I'm gonna go down there. And I walked 6 miles.
6 miles?
6 miles. It's crazy. Guys, I can't make this stuff up. Well, at the time, maybe if I thought about it now, I wouldn't have done it. But at 15, you don't know it's 6 miles. And I went there and I was like, man, I got down there. And I asked the bouncer, could I get in? And he was like, man, you can't go in here, man. They selling alcohol. You can't get in here. And I made a deal with him. I said, if I can make you laugh, you'll get me in. Yeah. And I made him laugh. And the rest is history. I made him laugh. He got in. He brought me in. And the owner told me, like, what are you doing? And this guy ain't, you know. He was like, man, he's a little dude funny. Let him get on stage. And so I get on stage. And I'm supposed to do like 2 minutes, you know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that. I get up there. And I'm killing them.
Wow.
And the person that was supposed to, you know, they didn't have like actual artists. These would be like little rinky-dink comedians back then. And whoever was supposed to headline didn't show up. So I'm about to end my set. And I see the guy go, no, keep going, kid. And I stayed on it. And I must have been up there an hour.
Wow.
And I'm just coming off the top of the dome. And after that, I was like, yep.
This is it.
This is it. I want to do this. Now, I would like to believe that I was just so funny, or maybe because they were drunk. But either way, I made them laugh. And I was up there saying the most outlandish things because I've been through so much. So I was up there and I was cussing. And I was, Cat Williams was hot right then. And Cat Williams was my idol. So anything Cat Williams type of material I was doing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I was doing everything. I had a few impersonations back then, so I was doing some impersonations, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do.
So can you still do impersonation today? You
know, I haven't done impersonations in a while.
Okay.
I haven't done impersonations in a while. I used to do this Paul Mooney impersonation, and that was really great, but I haven't done those things in forever.
I wanted to put you on the spot.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? White people, y'all ain't gonna never be like us. You ain't never gonna be like us. It's like, you try to be, but you'll never be. You'll never be like us.
Interesting. So, during those time that you were saying, yes, this is it for me. I can make a career out of this. Do you remember the first time a joke didn't land?
Yes.
That people didn't laugh?
Yep. I was in New York City. And listen, I'm going to say this. So you don't go to New York. You know, these guys in New York do this.
Okay.
They are on stage from morning to night, night to morning. They do it. I was 16 at this time. I had been doing comedy for about a year. And I get cocky and tell my god brother, hey, take me to New York. He said, why? I said, drive me to New York. I'm ready. He was like, okay, cool. He was from New York. Hey, drive me to New York. And he's like, you think you're ready? I know I am, man. I'm funny. He's like, you are funny, man. So we go to New York. And so we find these comedy spots. We can sign me up. And these lists are horribly long. You can't get on any show, you know, especially if you're not known. And here I am, this young dude from Tennessee. You know, I'm trying to get in. And I find this little bar. And they're hosting a comedy night, or I don't even know if it was dedicated to comedy, but they had comedians on there. I sign up, and I go up, and I'm doing all my bits that work in Tennessee.
Okay,
they kill in Tennessee, and I get up there, and I try to bit. The first one didn't go, and they just kind of got quiet. All right, well, nice, shake that one off, DJ, and do another one, you know. And it doesn't land. About the third one, somebody from back go, boo! And they screaming. And I'm a kid. They have a New York boo is different than any, I've never, to this day, and I've been doing this 23 years, a New York boo is different than any other boo in the country. I don't care what nobody says. If you have never been booed in New York, you've never been booed. And the one started, and it just kind of was a ripple effect. Boo! And I was like, all right, thank you, good night. I got on stage, and I was supposed to go back up for another set, and it was like, and then I go up, and then I try to do it again. This guy says, "Hey kid, the world already has a Chris Tucker. We don't need another one." Ooh. And everybody like, oh, and I just walked off stage, and so we took the subway back to where we were staying, and I just remember just looking out the window, just looking at the giant rats, and going, I'm never doing this again.
Really? You thought of quitting?
Yeah, I thought of quitting. It was bad because when you get booed like that at that age, you only a year in, you still fresh, you still wet behind the ears. And the problem was I learned a valuable lesson though. I approached it extremely cocky.
Oh.
I approached it like I got this. And an older comic, it was like a mentor. He passed away now, but he told me, he said, the day you walk on that stage and you think you got it is the day you're gonna mess it up. So you should always kind of feel some kind of nervous something and channel it into your show. And that's what I've done since that time. And it's always worked for me. So, yeah, but I approached it way too cocky. And I got booed. It was bad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the viral moment.
Okay.
The conversation with your son.
Yes.
Walk me through that. Before, during, and possibly we'll talk about the after.
Right.
Was this something that you planned, or it was just accidental that your wife or you upload a video and about 25 or 30 million people saw the video in a couple of hours?
Right.
How did that happen?
Man, I'm literally sitting at the house and we're watching the grand finale of Empire.
Okay.
And me and my wife was talking about it. Hey, just stay out with the woo. And I'm noticing my son is looking at us, and we're talking, and he's acknowledging like he understands it. So I said, he starts, nom, 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 nom. I said, you understand? He said, yeah, nom, 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 nom. Okay, get up on the couch. And I told him, record this. So we're just sitting there and we're just talking. Now I record these like home movies for the kids, so when they get older, they can see it. So that's what this was supposed to be. And so we recorded. It's funny. We recorded it a month before. She just decides one day she's at work and she's going to release it. Wow. It was in her phone. So I'm at the house and somebody calls me and says, "Congratulations, bro." What are you talking about? Somebody else says, "Congratulations." After my third congratulations, I was like, is she pregnant or something? What's going on, bro? Like, why I keep getting credit? I said, man, you ain't been on the internet? And I'm like, no. Like, oh, she released a video of you and your son, and it's going crazy. I said, well, I ain't go in. And by the time I go in, it's already 300,000 in. And I was like, okay, it's 300,000 views. Oh, that's a lot. Okay, whoa. All right, cool. I said, I'll be impressed if it does more, later. Man, like an hour and a half goes past, it does like 2 million, 1.5, 2 million. I said, bro, this is crazy. We go to bed, we wake up, and it's 25 million hits in 10 hours. Yeah. So that just means you just went to bed, nobody knew you, you woke up famous. And I was very famous because I would go out to like the mailbox, and my neighbor said, wouldn't talk to me. He was like this, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Where's the baby? How's the baby doing? And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And I mean, when you go viral like that, it's insane. Brands are calling you. People are calling for other countries that want rights to your videos. I mean, it's people are making money offers. I mean, it's insane because it went. There's viral, and then there's mega viral.
Okay.
Right. This video went mega viral, and you could tell kind of the forecast of it by how fast it hit. Technically, they say viral isn't even till 5 million. So we did 25 in 10 hours. By the time I think I did like 2 days went past, we were at 100 million or 65 million to 100 million. That's crazy. So then I knew, okay, yeah, this is insane. Yeah. We couldn't go nowhere. Just stopping. I felt like I was Michael Jackson. I was talking like him and everything. How are you? Good to see you. God bless you. I love you. LOV for I thought I was Michael out here, man.
So what was your first emotion when you realized that, this is going mega viral?
You just take it. Oh, that's how you do. You just, because you don't know what to do with all of it's fame coming at you so fast, right? So you don't know what to do with it. You can't digest it. You can't even
process it.
Yeah, you can't process it because literally every channel we were turning on, it was on every channel. So you're like, what is happening? Then somebody called me and said, yo, Will Smith just shared it on Instagram. And it's Fresh Prince. You know what I mean? We grew up watching, oh my God. I went on there, I saw him, I was like, oh my God. And then it was crazy. That was it.
What was it about that video that make it go that viral?
I think people just were hungry to see that type of interaction,
Ah.
it's something, it always was interesting to me that people were amazed at how I was talking to him, because people were like, oh, he was talking to him like he was, he wasn't doing baby talk. And I was like, I didn't know people still do baby talk. So that was one for the professionals that said, hey, you were doing this thing. I got a call from a professor from Harvard, said, you were practicing serve and return. Did you know that? I was like, yeah, sure I did. You're practicing serve and return and you do it. I had no clue. But then just showing that a father, specifically a black father, was sitting down and having a conversation with his baby, showing that he was not only involved, but he was present, and active. I think that was a narrative that we weren't familiar with seeing. And I think it was refreshing to see that, right? And so overnight, I gained fame, but I became responsible for this narrative that, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't want that responsibility. I was like, no, find another guy, find another spokesperson. I don't want this, I just want the fame. And it's just what came with it.
So how did you manage that fame?
I tell people I just lived normal. I stayed normal. I stayed, if you wanted to not be grounded, my family would always ground me. Go home, grandma and say, take out that trash. You're like, man, I'm a whole celebrity out here. I took it out, grandma, but don't forget who I am, She like, yeah, I remember you the baby I used to change. That's who you are. You take that trash out. Yeah, I think just being grounded around people who just see you as normal, right? And the world treats you, even now, when I go out somewhere and everyone, and people that know me like, why are they acting like that? Because I'm a big deal. That's why.
Big deal.
You're right. I'm huge. I'm a superstar. Why? And they're so unimpressed. Yeah.
In today's social media, many people want to go viral.
Yeah.
They work day and night.
Yeah.
And yet, they're not even hitting 100 or 1,000 views.
Right.
What is the secret of going viral?
Not trying to do it.
Not trying to
do it. It happens because you don't try it. If you try to go viral, you won't go viral. And I'm saying this as the guy who's gone viral many times, right? I've had other videos that have done crazy numbers, right? You just stop trying to do it. Just when something resonates, it resonates. It'll fall where it's supposed to fall. But when people out here acting like they're selling some type of formula, you're getting scammed, guys. There is no formula. Either people like it or they don't. And when people like it, it does what it's supposed to do, right? I think God had an agenda for that video. And he used the video to do what it did. And I don't know a marketing person who's better than God. So it did what it was supposed to do. Yeah.
What do you think that agenda was? You said God had an agenda for that video. What do you think it was?
To show the necessity of fathers, right? But to show that we are to change his narrative and to encourage men who maybe aren't present. Right? I had a guy who told me, he was doing his own thing and he saw that video and it made him reconnect with his kids.
Wow.
And I got a lot of stories like that people that weren't white, black, and other, that people just wanted to reconnect with their kids, or maybe they were home, but they just wanted to get to know what's going on in their little world, And so that meant a lot to me because it communicated a lot of different messages. And that's the day I'll always have that. Me and my family will always have the day we made the world laugh and also got a message out at the same time. Yeah.
Earlier on, you said that you feel responsible for the narrative about black fathers. And even though you don't want it, at what time did you realize that, well, I am more than a comedian now, that I'm carrying something bigger, a responsibility with my gift?
I'll tell you, I was in New York. I was actually taping the Today Show.
Okay.
I was walking in a hotel, and the bellhop there called me over. And, New Yorkers are really passionate. Yo, son, come here. I thought he was about to rob me or something. I didn't know what was going on. And he said, this gift you have is for the culture.
Wow.
And he said, like, I guess I didn't give him the response he wanted. He said, did you hear what I said? He said, this gift you have is for the culture. He said, see, I have kids and I'm not allowed to see my kids because my baby mom's angry because me and her can't be together. But he said, when I saw that did something for me. This man hugged me and he cried.
What?
And I'm talking, when you see this guy, you would have thought he was emotional like that. And maybe he wasn't, but that moment he was. And I went upstairs, man. And I think I started to feel the weight. And it got me emotional because I was like, oh, wow. I'm like the spokesperson. Mind you, this is the day before I got to go represent us really good on a Today Show. Okay. Right? Live TV. And that's when it went from, okay, it's done being just funny guy. You have a responsibility. And I felt that weight. And so that next morning when the car pulled up to take us to the studio, I just remember taking a deep breath going, whew. Like, man, and I felt that weight, like, you know, what you say today on this show is going to matter, right? And I still don't think, when I watch the clips sometimes, I don't really watch them often, but when I might see them, I still can look at myself and could tell it still didn't dawn on me the full, now I do, yeah, but the full weight that was resting on me. I look at him, I go, poor guy. but no, fortunate guy, because God chose me to do it. But it was, I don't think I understood in the moment, because it's all moving so fast. Whoa, you are the guy who's speaking, you know. And I've had people reach out all over these different countries that I've never been to, that are sending me messages about this video. It was an incredible honor. It still is an incredible honor to be some type of spokesperson.
So what will you describe as the missing piece or the misrepresentation about being a black father?
You know, we just don't get the coverage. You know, where do most people get their information from? Media.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not popular to see, right? Up until now, but it just wasn't a popular thing to see. And that agenda, for whatever reason, you know, there are people and there are powers that be that understand the importance of the dismantlement of men. That if a man is out of a picture, I can get the rest of the family.
True.
And we live in a society that does not value the placement of the man, right? So who wants to watch TV about a dad protecting his family? Nobody wants to watch that. You know, that doesn't make for good TV. We want drama. We want the mom who's struggling to get her kids to understand, and dad walked out, and so when you start to see something different, you go, oh, okay. And they're not just out here just making babies, and they are present, and they are, you know, they're very active, and they know how to change diapers, and they know, and they can be left at home alone with their children. You know, these things. Yeah. This video was just a huge debunk of all of those very false narratives, that we weren't present, that we're not active, and if we are active, we don't know what we're doing. It's gone. Because now what you would have had, what it was showing, those numbers were showing, you got to acknowledge this.
Yep.
You got to, it was too loud to turn down, you know? And so that's what it is. The media, we don't get a lot of coverage. So I feel like this. I tell people, I make this joke about, man, for all the coverage we didn't get for all those years and centuries and decades, we got it all in that video. We got all the exposure. But I would love, and there's so many videos after my video that I saw that people were starting to share them now. That all eyes were on us. So I think that's great. And I'm sure there were other videos that might have done things before my video, but after my video, definitely I saw videos that did it, but it wasn't about me, and that's what I understood.
You know, coming from an African background,
Yeah,
African men don't show their emotions.
yeah,
Is it also the same generally across
yeah.
here as well, that black men
Don't cry. Yeah,
don't show their emotions,
Yep.
and therefore they seem disconnected from their families.
Yeah. It's hard. It's just something about, I came up and, you don't cry. What you crying for? Shut up. And so I'm 4 years old, man. What happened? I slammed my hand in the door. Don't you cry. So it's just crazy. This idea of not being able to show emotion. And I think, I don't know where the root of that is, because of, obviously, with history and us having to be strong all the time. We were so programmed to be strong that we didn't understand that strength came through tears as well. True. Right?
Strength comes through tears as well.
And but somewhere in the culture, especially when you go all the way far as back as slavery to up to now, it's like, you never let your enemy see you sweat. So our poker face has become this thing that we don't cry. And we taught ourselves so good that when it's time to cry, we still can't. You know what I'm saying? Because you train yourself so good that you severed that emotional thing that's in you. You severed it. So now you don't know how to use it, even when your tear ducts don't even know how to work. It's so dried out. You didn't use them. But I always say that tears are God's gift to us to help us with the transitions of life. Wow. Right? So there will be transitions. We can guarantee that. Right? Transitions will happen. But how will you deal with them? And if you deal with them, that person that's dealing with that crazy level of depression is probably, more than likely, haven't been able to release in that way of crying, or they got up to a point where they held it so much. It's like a cloud. You watch a cloud and you say, man, that cloud is dark. That cloud is dark. But in due time, in a little bit, that rain gonna come, and it's gonna come like crazy. That's what it is. It's like, that's how we are in life. As men, we go through life broken, and it's dark, but at some point it's gonna pop. True. You just hope that it pops in the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah, and because you're like, it could go really bad. It could be severe weather. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or it could just be like, okay, bad rain, but after that, sun comes out. Yeah. So you just,
because all of these emotions that are to be tender, to be affectionate, that has been closed up within. Yeah. And then something negative happened. Yeah. And boom.
Boom. Boom. That's why you hear all these, like, when people snap and they go, like, a guy snaps and he goes and kills his whole family. And you hear that and you go, where did he go? Right? Like, how did that happen? Obviously, we always say, that's an awful, evil person. But did he start off that way? Where did he go in his mind where he didn't know how to even calculate and make a sound decision, to where he was like, I'd rather hurt them and myself? How did it get that dark? And usually it's because we've trained us to zip it all up. Yeah. Right? And men, it is very dangerous when men walk around and zip it all up. It is even more dangerous when people in their life don't notice it. Wow. It's even more dangerous when they're like that and they don't notice. Because most of the time when people snap, they gave warning signs. There's nobody like, they were good the whole time. There was nothing they did. No, there were signs. True. There's usually signs. They show something before they snap. Yeah. So I don't know, man. That's what we're taught that. I hope more men disrobe out of that ideology.
Well, let's shift gear a little bit. Okay. Did you ever feel the pressure to maintain this viral standard, this, popular guy? Was there a pressure to keep up that persona?
Look at me, brother. Look at me right now. Look, you see how I'm looking. Now I want y'all to know I'm looking like this because I just played a role. So don't be over here judging like, what is wrong with DJ? Why he looking like that? I was playing a role like I stepped out the 70s, and so that's why I got this. I promise you I don't look like this on the regular. No, I don't. I don't. Leave me. Let me go live life. Let me, you ask me for a baby that ain't a baby no more.
People are asking for the baby.
Where's the baby? At school. That's where he is. He's at school. He's in college. You know what I mean? Like, I love the moment.
Okay.
But it was a moment.
Yeah.
And I do understand because people don't see us every day, that in their head, that's how they see us. It's in a time capsule and it won't leave. So I get it. So I'm not angry at nobody who sees it that way. But we're so much more than the video. I am more than the video, but I'm not angry at it. I get it. I totally get it. When I go to Walmart, I had somebody ask me what I was doing out. And I was like, what? He was like, you ain't got no security and you just out here getting groceries. And I was like, and that communicated to me, oh, you don't think I'm supposed to live life normal. You think that I'm supposed to be somewhere on the couch waiting for you to push play and then we act it out again. Like, that's not what it is. Yeah, I gotta eat, lady. You know what I mean? Like, so I understand that there's some people that will always, the great majority of people will keep us in that time capsule,
During this period of virality and fame, what pressure did it put on you as a husband and on your marriage? Was there any pressure at all?
I think, the career choice already is, the pressure was already a thing, just anytime you do anything entertainment, it's already pressure. The viral video, she couldn't hold against me so much because she's the reason why we went viral. So it's like, you can't even get mad at me, lady. You're the one who posted it. So no, I don't, the viral stuff, I don't think would create a pressure. I think the pressure was already there because of my career choice anyway. She came from a really religious background. So, you going to tell Jamaican family members that how you going to provide for their daughter is you going to tell jokes for a living. And you see how that work out for you.
Nope.
It's not. Nope. They want a doctor. They want a something, And he said, so what are you going to do? And then I'm going to tell jokes. So what they say, he a clown. It's like one of those like, okay, I'm not a clown. I'm just, it's not gonna be, so it's not gonna be, is it? No, but I think that was, I think it was already stuff already there. Yeah. I think fame might have enhanced things, but I think, it was already,
So did that create any tension for you being a family man and a public figure?
Finding the balance of it all, I think it, especially when something like that happens, they want interviews, the press wants to talk all the time. I remember one time I literally had to say no. I was in the middle of an interview and I'm like, you could see in the interview, I was doing Sydney, Australia. I was doing an interview for Sydney, Australia. And I was here in Nashville and it was 8 p.m. here and it was 1 p.m. the next day there. And I had been doing press all day. Wow. And I'm sitting there and they're talking and I'm in the camera like this. Like, I'm like, yeah. We love you, DJ Pryor. We come over here and do some comedy shows. And, just because I'm hanging on. And when they got right there, I was like, I need to, okay, it's enough. Let the
boundary.
Yeah, let me stop and and I kept telling everybody, what are you guys going to do? We're going to go home and be normal. And you keep saying you're going to go home and be normal, but you keep taking interviews. So I was like, this is good. Guys, so I just, after that, I start turning interviews down. Okay, we got it. The story's out.
Yep.
You're going to ask the same question that they saw on this. It's fine. And, yeah.
Now, let's talk about the daddy issue.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So, are we going to see a mommy issue too?
Mommy issues. It's funny. This next. Without telling too much about it, but you got the exclusive.
Okay.
This next one, right?
We are hearing it for the first time.
Right here. I think you're gonna hear more of my mommy issues than my daddy issues in this next one.
Okay.
because I just couldn't let her get away scot-free. Would be right. Yeah, it's not called mommy issues, but there are more things that I'm dealing with concerning my mom, concerning my childhood, and the things I'm making fun of obviously weren't funny then, but just all around the things the eye that God gave me to kind of be able to look at this stuff is really funny. So I've been writing. I'm always kind of like, at the house writing. I'm always writing. Like my house is pretty funny. I'm pretty funny at the house. Not trying to be, just sitting at the house and have an idea and I'll jot something down or I'll, put a note in my phone. I'm always kind of creating something funny. It's always something that I'm like, oh, that might be funny as a bit. I'll try it, or I'll test it out on a friend. Just talk, not telling them I'm testing it out, just talking, and depending on the reaction, I'm like, okay, oh, good, okay, But yeah, man, I just kind of always just I'm always working on something. So this next one, you will hear more about my mom and my family overall. This next one now is a lot more raw than the first one. So they
test out issues. One of those mommy issues on me. Oh,
well, that wouldn't be good, because then now y'all would know it, and then y'all gonna be going around quoting my new stuff that ain't out yet. But this next one though, I tell people it's gonna be my thriller. Yeah, this next one is gonna be my thriller. Like how Mike did his this next one's gonna be my thriller.
Is it gonna be about when your mom was 13 or when you were talking about the fact that she couldn't drive?
Yeah.
And your friends' parents can drive?
Yep. Yep.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. I had friends that had a crush on my mom that thought they were gonna be my stepdaddy. You give my mom, I'm not calling you dad, brother. All right, now I just put that out there right now.
With your friend?
Yeah, man.
Have a crush on your mom?
Yeah, I had a crush on my mom, man. They thought she was our age. She was like, bro, that is my mother, bro. I got to fight with a guy at a bus stop. I never forget it. My mother, it's a funny story. My mother was out here living a reckless life, and I was at school and they was giving out these cards. I never forget it. And the boy said my uncle went to the strip club. This girl, she was in there. She was beautiful, and we pull up, and he said, "There she go, right there." And I remember thinking, "I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna kill him." And I got to fight with that boy at the bus stop, and Mom's like, "Why you get to fight with him?" And he said you was a stripper. It was like, and when I said it to my mom, she didn't deny it. I was like, "Oh, you're stripping?" Bro. And I was like, bruh, after that, it was just like, man, it ruined my life. I beat that boy so bad. But it's just the things that my mom, decisions she made that makes me laugh now, right? And like I said, I'm always writing.
Yeah.
And me at this age now, looking at the things she did, it's very comedic. Things I would never do.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
So why did you name your previous show Daddy Issue?
Because one was because I knew I was going to deal with the passing of my father in it.
Oh.
So it was like a love letter to all the fathers, because there was we were doing this kind of I remember MSNBC, I think it was, and I was having this conversation. I think the George Floyd thing had just happened, and they contacted me, and they were saying all these things, and I remember they asked me something about preparing my kids for the world they live in, something like that. And I answered and I said, something to the extent of, it's hard raising kids in a country that systems are not built for them. Something like that. And this well-known senator, a congressman, I won't say his name, but you can go look this up. So then he tweets me, and then he says, basically that comedians need to just tell jokes and be quiet. Then, I would do. And my response to it was a special. Oh, I'll show you I won't be quiet. I'll go record a whole special about it. and talking about who we were and all that. And that's kind of what it was, man. Just kind of giving this love letter to fatherhood, because there are a lot of men who want to redeem the time.
Yeah.
Right. And that was my love letter to them, saying it's not too late to fix it.
Not too late.
Yeah,
to fix
it's not too late to fix it. I don't care how old you are, how old they are. It's not too late to fix it. And so daddy issues is really me making fun of myself as a father and a son, and paying homage to two examples that I had, one bad, one good, and how they both shaped my view on fatherhood. And so that's what that was, man. So that's why I was daddy issues, because it was really me working. You literally, when you watch the special, you literally see me working through my issues.
I saw that.
On stage.
I saw that.
You know what I mean? So when you watch it, you're like, maybe this is therapeutic for him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so at the end, for those who haven't seen it, but at the end, when I have that moment, when I sit down and I have this powerful moment and I start to cry, that's, I think, when people really understood, okay, he's no longer performing. He's I think we're sitting in on DJ's session. You know, I think he sat down, and when I sat down with the audience, I remember it going from a concert style show, and when I sit on the edge of that stage, people are like, okay, where is this going? And then I pay that tribute to my father, and then I think that's when people really understood, okay, did we just sit through an hour of this man working through his issues? And that's what it is. That's what art is. You know what I mean? So, Daddy Issues, go watch it if you haven't seen it on Amazon TV.
Yep, I have to watch it. It's very hilarious.
Yeah, thank you.
Very hilarious.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So I'm curious, what therapy will you be getting in your next show that's going to be about mommy issue?
Oh, man. You know, I have this next one is brutally honest. I think some people have the goody two-shoe image of me. I think this one is going to totally change that. You're going to look at me completely different. And that's fine. I'm okay with it. God knows I don't care about what you think. But talking about the marriage, fail of marriage, women, you know, me getting in trouble, you know, what else? Being honest about who I am. My struggle with balance with family and fame and what that's cost me. And, you know, my mother and her addiction to drugs and me being in court and lying to judges. And, you know, it's just all these things that you say, how can you talk about all of these, you know, me talking about my abuse growing up and all these things. How can you make light in an hour of me just being really honest? But the point of it is, in all of that, I've always marched to the beat of my own drum. And there's a rhythm, there's a cadence to life. And when you find your rhythm, everybody has to find their own rhythm.
Yeah.
And so that's what this next special is about, is everybody finding their own rhythm.
In Daddy Issue,
yeah,
you did talk about the fact that mothers are more celebrated than fathers.
Yeah. Yes.
So is that going to be a comeback?
Yeah. You gotta, a good call. Yeah, you peeping it. Yes. Yes, there's definitely gonna be a callback to that. I have a whole, cause see, in Daddy Issues, I had to say it and keep moving. Yeah. This one, I get to lay it out. Like, here it is, you know, bigger and better. And then the next one, the production is gonna be even bigger.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. DJ Pryor, tell me one thing.
Okay.
What is the biggest lie about Black fathers?
The biggest lie about Black fathers. I think I would go with just, they're not there. They make them and they leave. And I would say, somebody said this to me, and I present them with some facts. Now, I want to put this out here. I want to put this caveat out here because I could see us getting comments about this, but I want to clear this up. And if you think I'm lying, go look it up. Well, people have made babies and they left. Well, let me clarify. There's something systematically, right? And people go look this up, that was put in by our own government, right? That I believe it's called like man at home law or something like that. And basically what this law was was it was put in place that if a woman wanted to receive benefits for her children, the father could not stay at the house. There could not be a man. So men who wanted their wives to receive normal benefits, you know, maybe they were struggling family, middle class, they had to sacrifice and get up and literally move out of the house.
Really?
Yeah, they had to move out of the house. Or if they stayed at the house, they would have to try to because they would pop up at any time, right? And so they would pop up at any time. And if they saw your shoes there, they knew a man stayed there. They would take her off of the welfare and whatever like that. They would take her off of it. So they created this man at home law. They put this thing in an act. And so because of that, a lot of men, they primarily targeted places like Chicago. They started it there. And what happened is a lot of men were leaving, moving out, still married, by the way.
What?
Still married to the women. Still, you know, show up, take the kids to school, things like that. But they couldn't be in the same home for the benefits of them getting the benefits for their families, right? So what it would appear is systematically, you know, like before you look at it, dads just aren't present. But one of the ways that started was because systematically there was an act put in place and it just stayed. So there were still generations later catching up to something decision that was made a long time ago that was systematically put in place. And if you think I'm lying, go look it up. Go actually research this thing and it will blow your mind. You go, oh my, the government did this, yeah. And this act was put in place.
The government put a law in place to make sure that fathers or black fathers
a man could not be in his home. Yep. If she was going to receive any kind of, which the mentality would have been, well, because his income should have been taking care of it.
Yes.
But you're talking about in a time where they couldn't make ends meet, right? So for them to receive something bare necessity as something as simple as food, they had to get up and leave to receive assistance.
Could that be a systematic approach that the government at that time were using to destabilize families so that they can reap from the chaos in the society?
The breakdown of society, yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. So to this day, that breakdown of society, notice I said they started really practicing this in Chicago. And where you see a lot of the gangs it went crazy at Chicago.
That's true.
Right? Fatherless guys, right? Things were systematically put in place. So we go, oh, those people in Chicago are just out of control. Those gang members. And you go, damn, what were their fathers? Oh, that's right. So that's not saying that dad didn't show up, but there's a difference in dad showing up and dad living in the house. You know, there's a difference in so these kids were becoming unruly. Dad ain't there, you know? And so those kind of things, we are still reaping the consequences of that systematic thing. Think I'm lying, go look it up. I promise by the time this episode drop, and you will be like, oh my gosh, yeah. Still, and some of those things we still have not gotten out of law to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that's why that narrative, the media just got behind that thing right there. So
I guess that puts a much more bigger task and responsibility on people like you with a gift to change the culture and the narratives. Yeah.
And also I had to educate myself on it. That's how I learned this stuff. Because if I'm the representative, then I got to know these ins and outs of, so we're not just bad people just getting up and there were things that were put in place. There were certain things that were encouraged. And there were men who got up and walked out of homes thinking that I'm
doing the
good thing, right? Now, if you left and stayed gone, that's on you. But, you know, there are something, and this is not every case. I'm not saying this is every case. I'm not blanking in saying that's the only reason my black dad said yeah. I'm saying there are some guys who just trifling. Guys, I ain't know they just trifling. Ain't no way around that. But that's in every race, you know. But yeah, I think that's why. To answer that question, yeah.
What is the source of your creativity?
God himself. You know, God can only be the one. I told people God is the greatest comedian of all time.
Really?
He has to be.
What comedy did you hear from God that makes you laugh?
Listen, I just look at life. Okay. You want to laugh? You ever just been driving and just thought about something, just chuckled? And you think about a situation and just how something unfolded and you just chuckle to yourself. And God just orchestrates this stuff. I remember God just gave me this view, and I was like, he know who he made me. I was at my grandfather's funeral, and I'm sitting there, and this is my dad's dad, and he's crying, and my siblings are crying, and I'm trying to be strong for everybody. I'm checking on everybody, and on this row, and then somebody on my row just let one go, just without regard for anybody knows, just let one just fart it and just let it go. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, who is this trifling in this church that they let the devil get in their butt and just gonna do it right here? Just let the devil get in their butt. Somebody is letting the devil use them, and Deacon try to shut me up. No, we gonna talk about this. Somebody let the devil use the butt. And I said, this is exactly what I said. I said, hey man, he already dead. That's what I said. I said that out loud. And my dad, I look up front, and my dad just busts out laughing. Dang, lady, you gonna just let it out right here, huh? Thank God they sewed my granddad's mouth shut, because you gonna just let it go. Just right here, huh? Just go sit here, ain't gonna say excuse me. And in that time, I just like, humor has no boundaries.
True.
Right? It got us through that moment. That little laugh. He was so broke out, but that little laugh did something. You know what I mean? And that's who God made me. You know what I mean? That's how I get through things. So I think I know for a fact the source of it. I just think I have an idea about something, and I was just like, what if? And I always approach things with a question. What if? And then I'll go write something, and it's a wrap.
Do you numb your pain with comedy?
I think all comedians do to some degree. I think all comedians do to some degree. I think some of the most jacked up people on earth are comics. Just emotionally unstable people are comics. Just ruin. And they make some of the greatest comedians. I did do that.
Okay.
Now I embrace all the feels that I'm feeling. Mm. But I know how to direct it and guide it and translate it into comedy. But before it was just ignoring. Yeah, I would numb it. Don't want to talk about it.
It's all right.
Yeah. But now I can. Now I navigate it. I know what I'm feeling now, and I say I'm gonna make this into a joke. That's what this next special is gonna be about. Like, I know what the feeling is now, and here's what it is, and it's gonna be raw. You ain't gonna like it, but I'm saying it, and there it is.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you gotta be there. You gotta be in the building.
Well, as I begin to wrap up this, I have these rapid fire questions, true or false.
Okay, all right.
Just say true or false, and then you can pick one or two that you want to talk about.
Okay.
So, true or false about black husbands.
Okay.
Marriage exposes a man's unresolved trauma.
True.
Okay. Ego destroys more marriages than money.
Ooh. I think they kind of both do. I think they kind of, because I think you
have to pick one. True.
I think money. I'll go money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leadership in marriage requires vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Fame or success can quietly test a marriage.
Fame or success? Yeah. True enough. Yes.
A husband's emotional presence sets the tone for the home.
Yes. True.
Is there any one of these that you want to talk on?
Oh man. Ego and money.
Mm-hmm.
I think money Money, I've heard that money is usually the one that destroys a marriage. But usually money can get messed up because of ego. You know, so,
you don't have money.
Yeah.
You put your ego on that.
Right. So if I'm going to, yeah, that one's kind of a toss up because it's like, they kind of both. Yeah, I think the ego, you know, it's hard to tell somebody, you get out of my house if you ain't making money. You know, it's kind of, but that's ego talking. So I don't know. Yeah, I think those are kind of a toss up for me.
About black parenting now, true or false?
Okay.
I turned out fine is not always a healthy parenting logic.
False.
Okay.
Yeah.
Breaking generational cycles requires intentional parenting.
Okay, true.
Parents sometimes project their fears onto their children.
Oh, true.
Discipline should feel like love, not fear.
True.
Spare the rod or not spare the rod?
Not spare the rod.
Okay. Do you want to delve into any one of that?
Yeah, not spare the rod. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
So I tell this joke about whooping my kids in the special, right? And I caught so much flack. I had a lady that wrote me from England.
From England?
And she writes this thesis.
Really?
You could tell she watched the special a couple of times. She writes it and she wrote it for, she watched it to write this. And she goes through how it was great and how the look of it, and it was such a big show and it was great. And she said, and then I get to this part where it just disturbs me. And you're talking about beating on your children, and it seems something from the caveman days. And I'm a 65-year-old woman in London, England, and yada yada yada. She goes on, and I can't believe you. You sounded progressive. I just remember this line. You sounded progressive in your stand-up all up until that point. I loved you. And she said it like we broke up. And it's the craziest thing. But I need everybody to understand. These kids gonna get it, right? Now, I don't believe you should just be beating your kids and spanking your kids, like disciplining them, right? I think to hit them, be hitting on them is crazy, right? That's what we got. You know, you look like a tiger when you got a whooping from my mama. I think, but discipline should look like teaching. Here's what happened. Here's what I instructed you to do. And I make sure that you understand where you erred. Oh, so you understand that you did this. So you made an intentional decision. Okay, so now I'm teaching you consequence. And then there's a lesson that follows up after the discipline. That's teaching your children, not beating your children. If you just mad at them and you grab the belt, you beating them. That's not, I ain't with that. But teaching them is disciplining them. And I rather discipline my children than somebody come and tell me my children are in a body bag. You know what I mean? So, sorry, Miss from London, England. That's not going to stop in my house.
All right. So the last set, black fatherhood.
Okay.
True or false?
Okay.
Black fathers are unfairly stereotyped in America.
Yes, true.
Providing financially is not the same as being present.
Very true.
Discipline without affection creates emotional distance.
Yes, true.
Healing your childhood is necessary to father well.
Yes, very true.
Being a present black father today is revolutionary.
Yes, true.
How true? Care to delve into anyone?
The one healing your childhood.
Yeah, it's necessary to become a good father.
Yeah, that's That's top tier. Is this the camera? Top
Yep.
tier. That is top tier. I found that out to be true. Because if I would have carried on like my parents carried on, then what version of my kids would they get from me? Right? And what version of a dad would my kids get from me? But I decided to give them something different. So when my son does stuff, I used to say, boy, you couldn't have been your grandma child. Oh boy, you would have been, and then my son now is about to be 15, and he my mom did something. He was like, oh man, I saw a different side of grandma. I said, oh boy, you ain't seen nothing. That was just light work. But I've healed from those things. So there are things, even there are ways my mom says stuff now. I'm like, Mom, you cannot say that. You can't do that. Right. But that's her mentality. But if I would have taken that same mentality, these kids probably wouldn't be alive. These kids. So yeah.
On that note, do your kids find it difficult to separate daddy as a comedian and daddy as a daddy at home?
I think, yeah.
Do they know when you are serious or when you are just joking?
I think I'm annoying. I think I'm the fun parent, but I think I am annoying. Everybody thinks like, oh, you probably, because, I say something about spanking them or whatever like that, but I'm actually the fun parent. Their mom, nah, she's not fun at all. No, I think they were like, Dad, like when I'm playing and I'll make a joke about something, and then like my son came to me and we have conversations and he was like, Dad, people be talking about smoking weed. And you told me to be honest with you if I'm ever curious about stuff. I said, okay. I said, I'm kind of curious about it. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. I said, you should do it.
Told him that.
He said, what? Yeah, you should do it. He's like, Dad, what are you saying? It's disturbing that I'm saying this. I said, I think you should do it. He was like, Dad, why would you say that? I said, you should do it. And I'm talking about a nice fat one. Just roll it up and you should do it and smoke it. And he's like, Dad. And I said, yeah. And if you're lucky, it'll be laced with fentanyl or something like that. And your heart will explode and you'll die. He was like, oh, still curious? No, I'm good. Oh, okay. All right. Get out of my face. It's just like, only my dad, man. It's like, yo, come on, man. Think. Nah, son, you don't want to go out like that. But when you're in that environment, school, and people talking and things like that, he goes to a good school, but just people talking.
Sure.
The curiosity. So I like to have open dialogue, but I'm also gonna be honest about, son, what weed was when I was a kid and what it is now. I wouldn't do it. But it's just about making the overall decision was when you make decision, you don't get to handle how the consequence happen.
True.
Right? You don't want it.
When you make a decision, you don't get to handle how the consequences happen. Yeah. Because at that time, the consequences are unpredictable.
It's unpredictable. You don't belong to you no more. Once it's done, it's done. You don't get to say, oh no, I'm going to do this. You don't get to do that, right? When you make a decision, that is the decision you made. And however the consequences come, you have just surrendered yourself to it.
Wow.
And that's what I wanted him to understand. So I use humor to make great points. And usually my ways are a little unorthodox, but they get the picture.
As we wrap up this funny and exciting time together,
yes,
DJ Pryor, one day your son will watch this interview. Maybe in the next, say, 20 years.
Yeah.
To this time. What do you hope he understands about the man behind the comedy and the laughter?
Well, first, I hope he understands that Daddy didn't look like this all the time. I wanted him to understand that was not how. No, that his dad used this gift that he had to make the world better and to shine light on important issues and overall help people that didn't know how to get out of their trauma. That this gift was used to get them out, and I would hope that he would see that, or they would see that they played a part in this. That they all play a part in this, especially in this new stand-up. I'm about to be talking about all of them. That they played a part, and some kid, some family will see themselves in our family, and they'll be proud of what we contributed to the world in comedy. That's what I hope.
It will not be fair that we'll end up this session without you dropping a joke or something funny for the people watching. Go
Oh,
at it.
is this the camera?
Yes.
I don't even know what I do. No, be put on the spot. I don't know, man. What I got? I tell you what. Here's what I do. If you really want to laugh, if you absolutely want to laugh, I'm talking about from the good. Go on Amazon and Tubi and watch DJ Pryor, Daddy Issues. Super hilarious. And guess what? Here's the thing about it. You can rewind it, play it over and over and over. I won't complain. Guess what? Because I'm not doing it like again. Like it's a recording, so it's a time capsule. You can do whatever you want to. There it is, man.
Also, well, this has been a funny and exciting and educative session on the set of The Voyage. We've talked about the past, the present, and the future of DJ Pryor. That to him, comedy is not just for fun, but there is a purpose and a destiny that is attached to his gift, and that the gift is for the culture, to change the narratives about Black fathers, about fatherhood, and also to create a better society. Like we always say on The Voyage, let us build new memories and fresh memories as we go through life's trials, transitions, and hopefully triumph. Keep smiling and keep laughing. Bye.